The rain was coming down in sheets, slapping hard against the windshield like a warning. Streetlights blurred in the downpour as Leah Thompson squinted through the streaked glass of her old sedan. Every turn made the car groan, windshield wipers squealing as if they too were struggling against the storm. The hour was late, nearly midnight, and the quiet was broken only by the rhythmic breathing of her 5-year-old daughter, Maya, curled up in the back seat. Her pink dress was damp from the ride, shoes dangling loosely, her chest rising and falling in deep sleep. Leia's blonde hair was pulled back into a low, tired knot. Streaks of rain-damped strands plastered to her face. The diner uniform she wore still smelled faintly of grease and coffee. Her back ached from another long shift at the all-night diner. All she wanted was home, to pull off her wet shoes, dry her hair, and drift into the brief hours of sleep that stretched between one day and the next. Then she saw him. At the edge of the sidewalk, barely visible, an elderly man leaned against a lamppost, shoulders hunched under the storm. He wore no umbrella, no coat, just a soaked-wool blazer clinging to his thin frame. One hand gripped the post. The other trembled over a phone that was either dead or without service. Leia's foot eased off the gas. Her instincts whispered caution. She knew this neighborhood, quiet but not entirely safe. But the sight of him trembling, not with cold but fatigue or fear, drew a deep sigh from her lips. She pulled over, rolling the passenger window down halfway. Cold rain gusted, and immediately, "You okay out here?" she called. The man blinked through the rain. His voice, though calm, was weak. "I got turned around. My phone died. I thought I could make it, but I'm not as young as I used to be." Leia studied him. Soaked through, mud on shoes, yet there was a dignity in his posture, a quiet gentleness. She unlocked the door. "Get in. Let me take you home." He hesitated briefly, then nodded. Rainwater pooled on the floor mat beneath him. Leia turned the heater up, though she knew it barely worked. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the storm, until the man spoke again. "You didn't have to stop." "I know," Leia replied, eyes fixed on the road. "But I couldn't just drive past someone's grandpa melting in the rain." A faint chuckle. "Walter," he said. "Leia," she responded. "And this sleeping beauty is Maya." Walter glanced at the back seat. "She reminds me of someone long ago." They drove in quiet blocks until she finally asked for his address. His home was in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods at the edge of town. She didn't comment, just followed directions, careful through the rain-slicked streets. At the gate, she parked. A wide puddle glistened before the porch steps. Leia stepped out first, dashed aside, guiding him safely across. She didn't leave until she saw the lights flick on inside. "You never asked who I was," Walter said quietly. "Didn't seem important," Leia replied. He smiled, deeply moved. She nodded once, stepping back into the rain, the faint glow of his porch light behind her. For the first time in a long while, she felt she had done something right. The morning arrived too soon. By 2 a.m., she had managed only a few hours of restless sleep. Her bones ached, her mind foggy from the long shift, the storm's echo still in her ears. Maya's soft snores were the only comfort as Leia shuffled through their small apartment, readying for the day ahead. By 6:45, she and Maya were walking to the daycare, puddles splashing beneath their shoes. Leia kissed her daughter on the forehead and sprinted back to her car. She was late. The diner on the busy corner was small, greasy, always loud. For years on the job had made her familiar with every plate, coffee refill, and customer preference. But being late, no matter the reason, invited consequences. "Carter," snapped Steve Simmons, her manager, voice cutting across the kitchen. Leia froze, words caught in her throat. "I warned you." "I know. I'm sorry," Leia stammered. "There was this man last night, lost in the rain." "Save it," Steve barked, cutting her off. "You think helping someone gives you a pass to stroll and whenever you like? This is a job, not a charity. Hand over your apron." Leia untied it slowly, placed it on the counter, refusing to let him see her tremble. She left quietly, past booths she'd served for years, past the coffee station where she kept sugar for regulars. In the far corner, unnoticed, an older man stirred tea quietly, silver-rimmed glasses reflecting her retreating figure. Walter Weston had watched the whole scene, his gaze thoughtful. Outside, Leia paused under the diner awning, rain dripping from her hair. She had done the right thing last night, but it had cost her everything. Nearly noon, a knock came at the door. A man, tall, early 30s, neat, calm presence, navy coat still damp, introduced himself. "Miss Thompson?" "Yes." "I'm Julian Weston. My father is Walter. He asked me to find you." Recognition struck Leia. The man from the storm. Julian smiled gently. "He wants to thank you and invite you and Maya for lunch. He'd also like you to work with us part-time, helping him around the house. No medical skills required. Just kindness, presence, small care. He says you reminded him what it feels like to be human again." Leia hesitated. "I don't have credentials for that." Julian shook his head. "You don't need a degree to make someone feel cared for. 3 afternoons a week, proper pay." She glanced at Maya, then back at Julian. 3 days? I can try." Julian smiled, relief in his eyes. Maya's small voice piped up, "Can I come too?" Leia laughed. Julian looked at her, then at Maya. I think he already has his answer. A folded note arrived, elegant, old-fashioned, in Walter's handwriting. An invitation. Her heart swelled as she held it. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon when Leia and Maya arrived at the Weston estate for their first visit, not as strangers, but as more than just guests. The large, ivy-covered home stood elegant and warm, yet welcoming. The front door opened before they could knock. Walter greeted them with a soft smile, cozy cardigan and slippers, as if he had doubted they would come until this very moment. Julian stood behind him, sleeves rolled up, a dish towel draped over his shoulder. The faint aroma of rosemary and baked bread drifted from the kitchen. "I cooked," Julian said, almost apologetically. Walter chuckled. By cooked, he meant he supervised the oven. Julian smiled, stepping aside, gesturing, "Come in." The dining room was simple, not lavish, but thoughtfully arranged. A long oak table held 4 place settings, fresh flowers in a mason jar at the center. Maya climbed into her chair without hesitation, legs swinging. Julian pulled out a chair for Leia and carefully placed a piece of roasted chicken on Maya's plate, adding a spoonful of mashed potatoes. Leia noticed Julian's quiet attentiveness, checking the food's temperature, pouring water for everyone before serving himself. Walter watched them from across the table, eyes misting slightly. Midway through the meal, he reached across and placed a gentle hand on Leia's. "You reminded me who I was before the money," he said softly. Blinking, Leia replied quietly, "Sometimes all you can offer is a ride home, but it might be everything to someone." After dinner, while Maya drew at the coffee table, Leia followed Walter into his study. Her new job began simply, reading aloud from his favorite short stories, folding linens, making chamomile tea, sitting beside him in the sunroom as he spoke of his late wife, of raising Julian alone, of the silence that wealth could not fill. She shared stories of Maya's fear of thunder, her love of gardening, the quiet song she used to hum just to calm herself. Julian returned each evening, never interrupting, only offering a quiet nod. "How was today?" Leia always responded with a small smile. One evening, Julian passed by the open study door. Leia and Walter were laughing over a story from his youth, a stolen canoe, lost trousers, and a furious swan. Julian stopped, unnoticed, listening. His father hadn't laughed like that in years. Quietly, he stepped away. Maya came more often, bringing drawings, tiny cupcakes, and endless questions. The once cool, quiet house took on a gentle rhythm. Tea mingled with crayons, blankets tossed across chairs, tiny shoes near the back door. In the stillness between visits, Julian realized he missed hearing Leia's voice read, the sound of Maya's laughter, and even Walter's quiet storytelling. Something had shifted. The house no longer felt like a museum. It felt like home. Weeks passed, and a casual Saturday meal became a ritual. Leia helped Maya into her jacket and guided her to Walter for safety and comfort. But on one visit, Maya wandered into Julian's study, and a small wooden box, polished with delicate etchings, slipped from her hands. scattering worn, greenish-blue stones across the floor. Walter froze. Maya gasped. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. Julian rushed in, drying his hands on a towel. He knelt, holding a bead like something sacred. Calm but solemn, he said, "It's okay." She didn't know. "It was my mother's," he added quietly. She had made the bracelet when he was 10, using stones she believed were strong. Leia and Maya were both heartbroken, but Julian's voice, though calm, carried the weight of memory. He returned the bead to the cracked box, silence lingering heavier than any scolding. Leia helped Maya, whispering, "You didn't do anything wrong, sweetie. Accidents happen." They left quietly, and for 4 days, no visits occurred. Leia had texted Walter apologetically, suggesting he find someone else. His response was brief. "You matter." Maya, inspired by the desire to bring happiness back, crafted a new bracelet from colorful, mismatched beads. She folded a note. "I'm sorry I broke your shiny bracelet. I made this one for you. It's not shiny, but it's full of love. Love, Maya, 5 years old." That evening, Walter returned it for Julian. Julian sat alone in his study, unfolding the note and examining the bracelet. The uneven handwriting and bright plastic beads made him tremble. For the first time in years, he cried, not from grief, but from the pure, undeserved love a child had shown. Later, Julian went to Leia's apartment. "I was angry," he admitted. "Not at Maya, not really at the bracelet. People are more important." He reached her hands, holding them, letting her feel the sincerity. "I missed you, both of you." Maya peeked, hopeful. Julian crouched and showed her the plastic bracelet. "I am wearing it tomorrow," he promised. She grinned, throwing herself into his arms. Leia couldn't help but cry, but this time it was tears of relief and love, not guilt. Rain returned that Sunday, gentle, tapping on wide windows. In the backyard, Julian, Leia, and Maya sat on a picnic blanket, gazing upward. Walter watched from the patio, book in lap, but eyes on them. Julian leaned back, one arm behind Leia, the other wrist adorned with Maya's bracelet. Maya pointed to clouds. "That one looks like a dragon." Julian squinted. "I see a bunny with a really long tail." She laughed, falling back into Leia's lap. Walter smiled faintly. For the first time in years, the household was alive with warmth, laughter, and connection. Maya rested her head on Julian's shoulder. "If we stayed here forever, would you be my daddy?" Leia froze, but Julian looked down at her daughter and smiled, soft and genuine. "That would be an honor." Leia, eyes shimmering with tears, wrapped Maya in one arm and reached for Julian with the other. They embraced, the three of them united, a family forged not by circumstance, but by kindness and love. Guests clapped, glasses clinked, and Walter wiped at the corner of his eye. Later that week, Julian pulled up to Leia's modest apartment. "Get in," he said gently. "This time, let me take you home." Leia laughed through tears. "You sure this ride comes with snacks and bedtime stories?" "Only if you sit up front," he said with a chuckle. Maya squealed, hopping in the back. The engine hummed as they drove up the winding lane, toward the house that was no longer just walls and wood, but home built from kindness, forgiveness, and love. Above them, the clouds parted slightly. The storm had passed, leaving something whole in its wake. A family brought together by one simple act of compassion, one ride in the rain, and the unyielding belief that love, small and pure, could change lives forever.